Hello.
Moshi Moshi.
Mushy mushy. Okay, cool. All of them definitely beat show. Brilliant. Some good theme music as well, don't you think? Yeah. And you've just disappeared. Not a word.
No, I'm here.
You're there?
here.
Good. Okay, cool. Just straight up ignoring me.
I was just sandbagging your bit.
Sandbagging my bit. Yeah, okay, cool. It's cool. It's like, yeah, nothing is better entertaining for, like, the three people who listen to this than us actively ignoring each other. Cool.
So, what are you listening to? If you're listening to this,
What am I listening to if I'm listening to this?
yeah,
I am listening to you.
yes, and you on a podcast
Yeah, pretty much.
called. We don't really have a title.
Yeah,
That guy's a maniac.
the podcast.
Listening podcast.
We told
Episode.
us. Oh shit! What episode is this? I'm gonna say this is episode
five,
six.
6,
Yeah, I'm gonna say episode 6. Yeah,
somewhere in that region.
yeah, but it's part 4 of our "What Are You Playing" thing.
Yes, which might just go on forever at the rate it's going.
Yeah, as long as we stay in COVID and remain completely
Alert.
furloughed, alert. Yes, of course, alert and safe. Yeah, we can just go through playing games. Although, in theory, eventually there will run out of a number of games that we want to play. I mean, I'm going to use the words "want to play." I'm sure there is an infinite amount of gaming out there to play that we would continue to spend our lives doing. But I reckon, I mean, I do it myself. Like, we were talking about this the other day there as well. Like, you look at your library and it's like, I don't even know what I want to play. 411 games, incidentally, I did the count. 411 games I've got. And I scroll through them and it's weird. It's like, it's not like I stop and think, oh, maybe. I actually just scroll past them. I don't even know what half of these games are actually about or on, or like I sorted them by Metacritic score as well. It's just like, oh, these are all going to be good games. I'm not going to play them. I was just like, what's wrong?
It's strange when we occasionally have the argument about the price of games. You know, that kind of vague notion of, oh, £60 is too expensive for this game, £20 too expensive for this game. And it's like most of your kind of middle to big size games are produced as if it's the 1980s or 1990s, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, as if there's no concept that there's infinite number of hours out there just of gaming, let alone, you know, other distractions. So we're gonna give you hundreds of hours of extra content and DLC and after credit content, and it's
but ultimately crazy. Like, because games get played very differently now as well. And I mean, oh good, I'm going to bring it back to World of Warcraft because, you know, we don't talk about it enough on this podcast.
So for those of you who don't know, World of Warcraft's this obscure, I think it's a Japanese game, right?
Yeah, it's you probably wouldn't have heard of it. It's from 1989. It used to be on retro cabinets. You can only get it on certain consoles. You have to have a very special console, imported one as well.
You're really into this game.
Yeah, the controller is really niche as well. Some people have tried to like do sort of remakes of that controller, make USB versions, but obviously it's not compatible with any other games, you know.
So right, tell me about WoW.
the way we play games is so different because of how tied in we are to like internet communities and like new metas of games that are arising now. The only reason I'm going back to World of Warcraft is because it's quite fresh, and like going back to what the game was and how we played it then versus how we play it now, it's just massively different. The difficulty has gone down because everybody full on knows the strats. But on top of that, we now have a proper mainframe for being able to chat to each other, like Discord versus TeamSpeak is a completely different thing. But on top of that, like new metas have emerged on how to like level. What's the most efficient way to do this? There's like tools and calculators that everybody has online, so they know what the best gear is and how to farm it and where to farm it, how long it's going to take, and it's changed the whole direction of what that game was. I mean, ultimately the heart's still there that you know, or lack of heart or lack of soul, whatever you want to call for World of Warcraft, but it's there. Just the way that people play it is so different because there's just so much more information, way more than game FAQs. You know, even if it was the fucking text file with the the little tabs that you're able to find everything. It's just straight up. It's just too much information. But yeah, it changes the game's played, and I think that happens for everything as well. So like, even if a game developer was to make something with hundreds of hours, a huge amount of people are probably just going to play it the same way, you know, by finding the guide, finding this thing. Yeah.
That's the weird thing about it, right? So we've now been in lockdown for so long that I'm kind of like, okay, I'm actually going to summon up the energy to plug some of my older consoles in. And I don't know, the kind of psychology of games, and I know we're slightly different on this, is, you know, do I put on a game that I actually enjoy just for fun, and then I think, oh no, I can't, you know, I shouldn't really be playing games for fun because I've got games I haven't beaten yet, and then, you know, it's like, what counts as beaten? Is it just hitting the credit, you know? And it's all this bizarre internal logic that, you know, no one puts on you. And it's kind of crazy to have that mentality, but obviously, you know, a lot of people do, or some of that mentality, because we also just have more games than ever before. You know, they're more available. You know, you could easily fill up a typical week's gaming time on just free to play titles without even, you know, paying anything and having a good time. And that was, you know, that's something that's changed kind of with our generation, really. So it's changed in that we've now got digital content. It's changed in that, you know, with Steam arriving and kind of ridiculous bundles and sales. And so, yeah, we're kind of the first generation that went from, as we keep mentioning, you know, when you'd get your first console or whatever, and you'd get maybe 1 or 2 games a year, to just, you know, hundreds of games just sitting there, some unplayed, some never to be played,
not even installed.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird. But every single one of those developers has to put their full amount of effort into making this a full, huge, expanded game. Otherwise, it will get slated for, you know, being too short. Like, you know, when these games come out, which are, you know, so, the campaign's less than 10 hours. So get a life. You know, maybe you could have games which are good, you know, in just a couple of hours, or maybe it's better to. You know, we talked about Resident Evil 3, the remake, and that's a perfect example of that, right? Is you can just kind of blast through it in an afternoon, and that's it. You don't have to keep kind of logging in and staying in touch, and you don't have to have hours and hours of free hours in the week to kind of get anywhere in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, strange psychology.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm going to put full stop on that.
No.
Where can people find out more about us?
So I am Farley or Cunzy and you are Richie, and we write for That Guy's a Maniac, www.thatguys.co.uk. And this week, the podcast is sponsored by Mr. Giggle's Hot Pockets.
Yeah, the zeitgeist of That Guy's a Maniac, the podcast, has reached new heights of advertising. And of course, yeah, that's the thing. We can also be found on Twitter and Instagram, but not so much Instagram. We have our YouTube channel, which has 2 of our podcasts because podcasts are meant to have odd video. And on top of that, we also have a few of the videos that we've taken from our blog, such as me failing at SSX Tripkey and the legendarily still getting hits, the Bohemian Rhapsody scene from Wayne's World on the SNES.
There we go. Like, bell, subscribe, read, follow, heart, hug, angry smiley face, happy smiley face, vomit smiley face, all of those things.
Yeah, aubergine, peach.
Rainbow? I don't know. That's all the emojis I know.
It's all the important ones. Right. So let's just dive in as per we never do. What have you been playing?
Well, what have I been playing? This week, there's kind of a theme. So as I mentioned earlier, I decided to dig out the Wii U. I was looking at my backloggery. I was looking at where are the easy wins, where have I got like 1 or 2 unfinished games here or there on different platforms.
I think you might need to explain what backloggery is, because it's a niche OCD thing that you maybe see other people use.
So I think it's something that a lot of people might mentally do, but a fantastic person called Drumble has set up a website called the Backloggery, which is backloggery.com. But basically, you manually enter your games and the platform they're on, and then whether you have played them at all, whether you've played them but not finished it, whether you've beaten it, which is normally meant, you kind of get to the end credits, whether you completed it, which is normally, 100%ing it, and whether you've mastered it, which is so it's all what do you call it? You decide, whether you've beaten, completed, or mastered it. And it's
self-policing. Yeah.
So I put in all of my games into that. And it kind of keeps track of what you're beating and what your yearly stats are. And so I was looking at this, and it breaks it down by platform. And I was looking at where I had kind of like 1 or 2 left to beat, so I hadn't hit the credits on. And that led me to the Wii U. And the first game I was playing, which didn't originally come out on the Wii U, but I got on the Virtual Console, was Super Mario Galaxy 2. And so, yeah. So I played. Is this one of the? Have you touched either of these Super Mario Galaxies?
No, not at all. Like it's with this is the Wii version. Yeah, like my Wii. I mean, my back catalog for the Wii is like 3 games, and it's not very good because my Wii broke. I so did my Wii U actually. So like it was off and on used. And even when it was fixed, because there was an issue with the disc spinning, I never really felt like I could play it happily.
So you just kind of missed out on that Nintendo generation.
Yeah, just in kind of, it was a thing that happened, and I think I was mostly playing the 360 at that point anyway. But sorry, Mario Galaxy 2. How does it compare to the first one?
It's strange. So they're both great games, and I've mentioned this a number of times. The way I play Mario games, it tends to be I'll get them, spend a little bit on them, not touch them for ages, and then kind of do all the rest in one big blast. And this is exactly the same as this. This has been sitting on my Wii U for a while. You don't need to have waited, 10 years to hear from us about whether it's good or not. It's good game. It's just great gaming. So much kind of creativity. It's Mario in 3 dimensions, and then just hundreds of different ideas and levels, all themed around being in space. So there's lots of tricks around, but it changes from level to level. So some will be almost like a straight up platformer, some will be like an N64 level, and then some will be a crazy level set where you kind of rotate around planetoids. So it's all kind of based on space and the idea of gravity, and it's phenomenal. Mario Galaxy 1 has more of a linear story, so you get involved with Rosalina, and you kind of have a hub world. Super Mario Galaxy 2, initially it feels like here's just a shitload of ideas we had that didn't fit into Mario Galaxy 1. And so we're just going to string it into a game. But it's really strange. Mario games typically always have a little bit. Recent Mario games have a little bit after the credits, right? You kind of get to the credits, and then there's stuff to hoover up or special levels. And in Mario Galaxy 2, almost half the game is after the credits. So not only do they introduce a special world, which is even more of a kind of crazy box of these fantastic levels around strange ideas, but then there's also kind of green stars to collect, and then there's something after that. So I haven't completed it. Kind of just hit the credits and had a little bit of a payoff to that. So it's the structure of it is a little bit different, and it's not hub oriented, but the essence of it's kind of the same. Just a crazy bag of different levels around different themes. So one of the galaxies. So each of the galaxies is kind of like the portraits in Mario 64. So
whenever I see Super Mario Galaxy, all I ever see is Mario wearing like a Bumblebee outfit.
Yeah, so he has.
That pisses me off almost immediately, but yeah. Or wasp.
Yeah, so he has a few power-ups, which I think are only in one or the other. But they're used in maybe 1 or 2 levels, and there'll be a level that's around that suit. So there's a cloud suit, there's a boulder suit, there's the fire flower is like a time-limited thing that you get. Yoshi's in this one.
Okay.
And you get to spend a bit more time with him. So yeah, each galaxy is like the paintings in Mario 64, and that you've got, you go in to get the star, but then also be other stars which will reconfigure the level. And then there's these things called prankster comets, which you have to collect. You have to collect medals in other levels, and then it unlocks prankster comets. So some of them will be doing them within a time limit, and the other one will be collecting coins. So it's just great. It's fantastic. And really happy that I actually just sat down and did it. I thought I was further away from the ending than I was. I think when I picked it up, I was on world 2, and I thought there were 8 worlds, because typically there are, but there's just 6 worlds in this. And yeah, the Bowser boss fight's fantastic. I'd say the other difference between Galaxy and Galaxy 2 is Galaxy's quite relatively easy. So you end the game with stacks of lives, and there'll be maybe 1 or 2 levels that kind of give you a struggle, or 1 or 2 difficult stars. Galaxy 2 is much more brutal. So I kind of ran out of lives a couple of times. So the challenge level is a little bit harder. It's not something that stopped my progress. But yeah, it is more challenging, definitely.
Yeah. You've actually just reminded me as to part of the reason why I never even did Galaxies either as well, which was I never finished Sunshine.
Oh
Super
yeah, so you
Mario
have this weird
on
thing where you
GameCube.
have to play through. Is it just with Zelda? Is it just the Legend of Zelda and Mario games?
Well, I've given that up now. But yeah, there was a thing where with Zelda games where I wanted to play them through in order. But I've played Breath of the Wild, and the one that I'd played before that was like Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker. But so it's like that is out the window. And I've also played Mario
the
Odyssey.
same. Yeah.
But yeah, with Sunshine, it was kind of like, I mean, Sunshine is a stupidly hard game. Like, it is absolutely ridiculously hard. Like, some of the jumps and expectations for you as Mario to do some of these challenges are nuts. Like, even some of the boss fights are so brutal. But yeah, it's like that kind of was like, oh, I never finished Sunshine. One day I will, and then I can do Galaxy. Yeah. That never really happened. But yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
Well, you know you're missing out. It's one of those things. You know you're missing out. It's good games, and I don't know if we'll ever see them again, because
I mean, yeah, that's another thing that
They're
gets
quite-
me as well. Is like, yeah, like you never see these. Well, I know that you're playing that on the virtual console on the Wii U for the Wii
Yeah.
or something like that.
yeah, with a Wiimote. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the thing that kills me is like you don't see all of these games like re-released, or anything on the GameCube hasn't been like brought back in an emulator or brought back and redone or whatever. Well, I suppose you get remasters. I think you got.
Yeah.
Or was it
I mean,
the
the
Wind
GameCube,
Waker
I don't-
remake?
the GameCube, I don't really understand why, but obviously there's a real difficulty with a lot of Wii games, because particularly ones where the controller was a key part of the experience. So you could,
Of course, yeah.
you could port Galaxy and Galaxy 2, because no, I don't know if you could. You do use the remote a lot.
But do the Joy-Cons not like do the same job?
Oh, they do. They do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm sure that's fine. Like,
Yeah, because we've had some N64 game. So the Mario 64 was brought to the DS, and that DS version's fantastic. But yeah, there's kind of a black hole when it comes to other N64 games, and
of course, yeah, and yeah, the Wii U is a pain in the arse because I had the two screens like the DS did. So
yeah,
it
and not many games, but some games you had to have those two screens. But then all of the good Nintendo games on the Wii U have been ported over to Switch.
Yeah, but yeah, but there is a huge amount of like the GameCube games that now only exist on like emulated platforms. So you see people doing like speed runs of, Wind Waker and like Double Dash and stuff like that, and you know that they're just playing it on like Dolphin emulator, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Metroid Prime, they've kind of kept updated. Pikmin 2, F-Zero GX, WarioWare, Eternal Darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Sunshine never went anywhere.
Sunshine, no, it's just that's what bothers me the most. Like, I actually wouldn't mind having a go at that game again, although I'd probably hate it, because it's so hard. But I mean, I did get quite far in it. I'd done like the Bowser fight, and like what's really good about that game is like the progress you make, and it takes ages to get through. Hey, bang for your buck. Go back to the point we were talking before. It takes ages to get through it, but you open up more and more things on that island as well. And like even like the levels that you go back to have got like new things in them, because you've done something like you've like that very 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 first level of it. There's a big PT Piranha, which is just like vomiting mud or like all over the map. And once you defeat him and go back, there's less of that mud around, and you get to get access to other areas for the challenge, whatever that is.
Yeah,
so it progresses really well in that fashion. But ultimately, I don't think Mario changes at all. He has the water jetpack on his back.
Was it the Flood?
Yeah, Flood. FLUDD. Yeah. Who is like Navi, just goes Mario every so often, to tell you something on the screen. Like, look at his weak point, hits it. But yeah, like you have the Flood on the back, which essentially just like you aim and fire it, or it allows you to hover for a little bit, and that's it. The rest is just Mario's normal arsenal of like jumping. You don't get invincibility stars, you don't get firepower, you don't get the ability to fly. I think you get Yoshi later on in the game. I think it's like a post-game sort of thing. Oh, look, you can run around with Yoshi. But yeah, I think it was very, very restrictive in that sort of fashion. But yeah, sorry, Galaxy. What outfits do you get? What does Mario turn into? What are his special abilities?
So they're all much more temporary, and you don't carry them from one level to the other. So there's Cloud Mario, where you get 3 little clouds, and so if you spin when you jump, you make a cloud which you can then stand on. The Bee Mario has like limited flights but can climb up honey walls. The Boulder Mario is kind of like barrels around like a bowling ball. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 others. I think there's Ice Flower.
Is Cat Mario comes from as well?
No, that's the other line. Is it Mario 3D Land?
All right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, which is also on the Wii U, which I have never played.
Probably good.
Yeah, probably good. Same with New Super Mario Brothers 2, also probably really good. And never touched. Also, Mario Odyssey. So there we go. So yeah. Super Mario Galaxy 2, 10 years old. It's good fucking food, great gaming. Glad I finally got there.
Good.
What have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I have been playing Mortal Kombat 11.
Is that the latest one?
Yes. You say latest, it came out last year.
Yeah.
And I was, I think you were getting many WhatsApps from me sort of saying, should I get the Switch version? Should I get the PC version?
Yeah.
Should I get the Switch version? Should I get the PC version? And I couldn't decide for ages. Of like, it'd be a good thing to have on the Switch because it'd play on the go. And then I ultimately folded because I ended up getting a new PC, and I could crank the graphics all the way up to max to 4K 60 hertz sort of thing. I recently decided to pick it up and play through it. I actually didn't even really want to pick it up, and as part of what we've just touched upon as well, I kind of wanted to play through Mortal Kombat, the revamp one, Mortal Kombat 9, and then play Mortal Kombat 10, and then jump into Mortal Kombat 11 because the storyline's apparently a bit fun. So I started playing through Mortal Kombat 9, and I got through about 3/4 of it, and those challenges in the storyline are really, really hard. Like, there are points where you have to defeat 3 characters on 1 life bar, and you have to do it twice, of course, because that's the rules in fighting games, Round two.
And does that block progress if you can't do it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you literally just have to keep doing it and keep doing it, and either get good or get lucky. And quite often, because it's a story mode, you're playing with a character that normally wouldn't have even you picked up on or even thought about maining. So you end up sort of, all right, what was this person's moves? What do they do? When do you use them? And all right, okay, I'm on the other side of the screen now. Shit, what's happening? It's a tough one to play through. Now I have done it before. It's just I don't remember the plot of it. And actually going and playing it, they don't really recall that much. They mention a couple of events, but I think it's Mortal Kombat 9 has become more multiversy than canon. But one thing I did notice about Mortal Kombat 9 is just everybody has massive tits. They're like these sort of macho women, and then they've got these just blocks on their chest. I'll put an image on the Twitter, but it's just fucking hell. It is so not woke, and everybody, your usual katanas, melinas, and everything like that, have super skimpy outfits. Bloody hell, I mean, you can't criticize a game, Mortal Kombat, which has the most gory, horrible, ripping someone's skull out through their mouth sort of thing. But again, just cover them up a little bit, and they have done. Everyone's a bit more formed. They have different shapes as well.
Yeah.
So not
famously,
all...
some people were really outraged at how much coverage they got in the last one.
Yeah. Oh, really? So people were complaining that they weren't in skimpy outfits.
Yeah. Complaining that. Is it Jade? Is she one of the main good characters?
She's both in this game.
Okay.
Just to confuse matters, but she's
dressed like a lady would dress, like a normal woman.
Oh yeah, she's got a scarf around her head and her evil version of a scarf around her chest, which is fine. But yeah, if you compare it to the old Jade from Mortal Kombat 9, which has got two beach balls on her chest
and a bit of green cheese string holding it together.
Yeah, it's like Borat's Mankini.
Yeah,
because it's even green for Jade, But yeah, on that note, on the note of the story, now you've watched a let's play of this or something like that, haven't you?
Yeah, I find it fascinating that if you go back to when we first got console fighting games, so when Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and others were coming out, of those two, the one that kind of really invested in its canon, which has been kind of consistent for quite a few of the games now, some of the major events and the first tournaments, I was just kind of fascinated because I kind of caught wind that 11 did really cool things with the story and time travel and dimensions. So I watched basically all the cutscenes to see what was going on and how it jumped around. I was really impressed, actually. I mean, it is, it's a bit comic booky and there's MacGuffins and all that time travel, multi-dimensional bullshit. But considering I just still think of Mortal Kombat as a very kind of arcadey kind of game. The story side of things they've really invested in, unlike other games.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would say is the I played the previous ones and enjoyed the story, and I enjoyed Mortal Kombat 11 as well. And I like their main excuse for it all is they've invented a new character called Chronica. She's a bald woman with blue eyes who floats, and the main excuse for everything, like the all-encompassing canon excuse, is she has reset time a multitude of times. So, like, the events play out, but they play out ever so slightly different in each time. So they've managed to get away with how the Earthrealm invasion of Mortal Kombat 3, how certain characters like just haven't appeared again. We still haven't seen Striker like reappear, and things like that. Yeah, it's quite good. I like that, and I like that they've just gone through, and Liu Kang, who was kind of missing from a lot of the Mortal Kombat like 9 and 10, now has come a bit more center stage. And he was always kind of the Ryu of the Mortal Kombat series. You had to have Liu Kang, sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun story. What I would say about it though is it's actually shorter than the other ones. Like, it was really, really compressed. I mean, I spent most of my time not pressing buttons, but just watching things. And then as I went through, played through as a limited number of characters. And again, this is probably another thing that I really want to sort of like. They've got a big roster. They have a big roster in Mortal Kombat 11, but the ones that they use in the story, it's like maybe 6 or 7. And you're like, oh, okay. I'm back to playing as Liu Kang again. Okay, right. I have a choice between playing as Sub-Zero or Scorpion, and oh, okay, that's it. So I would say that the story mode, an extended version, just to have where like what the other characters are doing at the same time or anything like that, just to sort of bolster that. Because I just felt like I'm playing as 3 characters. I see, it's gone from 7 to 3. And I've played through the entire story, and then you go back and you look at the roster, and you're just like, I didn't even get a chance to play as XYZ. Now, I know that some of them are like the bad guys and all that sort of stuff, but it seems a bit rubbish that they just didn't include them, in the story somehow, for you to play along with.
But then I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe it was to address some of the complaints, actually, which you made earlier, because I know the same kind of thing happens with Injustice as well. The DC game is that constant character switching through the story. You kind of don't feel like you can get good at any of the characters if that's the first time you're playing them, because you keep jumping in and out. So maybe it's a nod to mitigate some of that.
Yeah, maybe, but still, I felt when it was coming to the end, I was like, oh, why am I playing as this character again? When there's a million others I could be playing as. And I suppose that was the thing, and I mean, I do have some other gripes, and I'm actually going to focus on the gripes. Now, I enjoyed playing this game. It was a £40 game. I played the storyline for 10 hours, and I don't know how much more I'm going to play that game. I played a little bit of the towers and stuff like that, but I'm going to sort of focus on my complaints of that. And that really is like Scorpion and Sub-Zero were like the main sort of campaign characters, or the branding and marketing. So you've got, like, even on the front of the case, you've got this hooded Scorpion with the gold mask, and like there was a redesign of Sub-Zero as well, where he's got this sort of almost sort of half crown chapeau thing, But neither of those designs are actually in the story. In the story, they just straight up have like the old version of Scorpion that's redeemed, where he's just a guy that happens to throw a spear, and Sub-Zero is like Grandmaster with a beard, and yeah, okay,
isn't there
cool?
Well, maybe this is in 9 or 10. Isn't there one fight where you fight the evil versions of them?
Oh, yeah, there's many that you refight, like evil versions of yourself or different time shifted versions of yourself, like Johnny Cage versus Johnny Cage. So it's old Johnny versus young Johnny.
Yeah. So they are in the game. You said they weren't in the game.
Yeah. No, that design is not in the story.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like the designs that they used to market and brand it were not in the storyline, and I kept on. Part of me was thinking, oh, maybe it's like an upgrade. Maybe later on there's this thing, or maybe in the storyline, and this is going to get to my next point. It will somehow explain how all of the modifications, items, and consumables and things like that work. Just for bringing it into the universe or something like that. Because when you aren't in the main storyline and when you're doing like character modifications and all that stuff, it is so overwhelming. There's like 5 or 6 different currencies. I don't even know if they're, like transactions. You get them from doing something, and using it does something to the characters. You also get like all of these like customizations for your characters as well, and I don't know if they're any good, why they're there, or like it says where they unlock, but I don't know how you unlock them. Like I felt like that was completely attacked on, almost like microtransactional thing, and it's the same actually in Injustice 2. Like, what the fuck am I looking at? What are these currencies? Why are they there? What do they do? And is this of any use to me?
But I guess that's the challenge of a modern kind of blockbuster fighting game. It's to a limited extent, it's the same with the big shooters as well. Is you have to make sure you've accommodated the people who come for the story mode, the esports crowd, the people who just want to play online all the time, and kind of games as a service. Because if you do one or two of those, then the obvious complaint will be, oh yeah, but the story mode's a bit kind of shallow, or if you're not into playing online, there's kind of nothing else to do. But as a consequence, particularly Mortal Kombat, where they've got the towers and the challenge modes have got increasingly bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, like you say, if you're just there for the story, and then you've got what's all this other like gubbins stuff? Yeah,
well, I mean, I did a few of the towers, and like obviously because like I have some of the characters that. Oh, sorry. One other complaint, whilst I remember, characters. Now, one of my favourite characters from the Mortal Kombat series is the robots. Sector, Cyrax, Cyber Smoke, and Cyber Sub-Zero, or Triborg as he was in what's it called, Mortal Kombat 10. They're in the main storyline. You fight them, but they're not characters.
That seems kind of crazy.
I was genuinely...
If their models are in the game.
This is it. And their moves, they have a full move set. They have their net and things like that.
Are you sure? That's mad.
Yeah. Like, why did they do that? And they even did a redesign of Sector as well. Like a Black Dragon version with like these white bits on him, to sort of look like the Chronica's minion. I thought that's cool. I'll enjoy playing as him. Maybe I'll do the challenge mode with him. You know? But yeah, no, not in it. Oh, okay, great. Why even include them in the storyline?
But didn't
you know?
they? I'm just trying. Yeah, didn't they do that with what's her face? Tanya in 10.
Tanya
Yeah.
in 10. She was like one of the main characters in 10, and yeah, no, is she just like not a character?
She
or?
was in the story, but it wasn't a character.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, probably. Like I think there's a few other examples of it as well. Shiva's in the story. You don't fight her, but Shiva's in there, and you don't get to use her. Shao Kahn, you fight him, but he's a DLC only character. And like there's a few other examples of it as well. Like, but yeah, it's I was a little sort of deflated when Sector wasn't there. Like, what's the point? Half putting him in the game.
It's a shame. I'm a fan of Cyrax and Sector as well. I used to like playing them.
Yeah. And yeah, but I mean, there's so many characters missing.
But also,
this game.
Of all the Mortal Kombat characters, right? Many of which have died and been brought back. The robots, which are just made in a production line, surely there's no legitimate canon reasons for them.
In Mortal Kombat 9, you actually get to play the human versions of them because they're not just robots.
Are they the souls of ninja? Fucking yeah.
Souls of ninja. It's like the Lin Kuei, which is Sub-Zero's clan, had the Cyber Lin Kuei. So they're doing this initiative to make them. But Sector was a bad guy. He was right for it, and he wanted to get turned into this evil fighting robot. Whereas Cyrax, he got changed against his will, and that's actually still in the story of Mortal Kombat 11 as well. But you got to play as the human versions, and they had the same moveset, and it was quite cool how they animated it to include them. I thought, it was really cool to have that in the game. But I guess if you want to do that, going back and play Mortal Kombat 9, it's like, that's the thing.
What would you give it out of 10?
I mean, I've still got further grades to actually go. But there's like when you're actually fighting in the towers, the fights are okay. They're over quite quickly.
So describe to me the towers. Sorry, I'm vaguely aware of the concept, but what's the
The towers are, you have X number of fights, and you as you progress through, you gain more and more consumables for something. And as you progress through, you've got like 3, 5, 7, 10, or 20 odd, however many you want to go up through. And at the end, you'll fight like someone. It doesn't really matter. You fight someone, and you may unlock something at the same time as well. But ultimately, you're just choosing to fight 10 people in a row. And the fights are fights. You get to fight as your characters, but the most fun actually comes from just the characters bantering. They put so much effort into that.
I watched a compilation of all of them, all the different combinations.
I mean, it's so good. Like even just like the DLC of the Terminator turning up, and like him having a bit of spiel with like other people there. It's good fun, And yeah, I find that more entertaining than the fight, though. And I suppose that's wrong. That's really, really wrong. But
so, what do you mean? Like, do they need to shake up the mechanics of Mortal Kombat?
I mean, I haven't got to the point, and I don't think I will ever get to the point where I used to get with fighting games, which was like knowing things inside out, being able to zone characters. I remember the last time I was able to do that, and that was sort of Tekken 2 and Soul Blade, like on the PS. And I like fighting games a lot, but the level that you need to get to main a character and really know them in depth. And I suppose I did it a little bit with what's it called? Smash Brothers. Yeah. It's tough, but yeah, you need to spend a long time knowing that, and then once you're happy with them, you then start to touch on the other characters and realize, okay, when I see this character doing this animation, I know to do X in response, and suddenly you've got this wealth of information on how to respond to certain moves and stuff like that. And it's not worth it. Like, that is information I don't need. So I guess playing Mortal Kombat I play at the very, very casual, intermediate. I will pause occasionally and remind myself of the special moves. Yeah, and that's kind of it, and I mean, I haven't even found a character I would want to main. Yeah, like I played as pretty much all of the DLC characters, the ones that were in the story, and a few of the other ones, and just like I haven't been able to settle on any of them. But what I did enjoy was like the banter at the start of it. Like, oh, that's cool. You said that. He said that. Oh, he's referencing this thing. That's good. I find that more entertaining than the fight itself. I actually found myself wanting to do the fight so I could get to the next tower or next level of the tower, to find out what the next banter was going to be with Baraka. Like, oh, okay. But yeah, I think it's not about shaking up the mechanics. I think it's just because I don't know. I'm not going to learn in the level. But I suppose I'm here for the story, I guess. Yeah. That's the thing. A couple of things just to mention on. They have announced the expansion for Mortal Kombat.
Really? I've not caught this.
So it's going to be called Aftermath. So, spoiler alert, at the end of Mortal Kombat 11, Liu Kang gains the power to reset time. And so he's going to start resetting time and rebuilding things. And in order to do that, he's recruited Shang Tsung, who was a great character. They brought him back. So there's going to be more characters and a full story campaign as well. Cool. So I'm on board. Yeah, but the expansion is like 40 quid. So, I mean, when you compare that versus what was the ridiculous one, which had the DLC for 80 quid?
Dead or Alive. All the DLC together was
all the big functions was.
Oh yeah.
The ability to finish a round and see an ending.
In order to have character intros, that was bad. That was really bad.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where Sector and Cyrax will be.
I think so. I mean, like, I did a brief Google whilst I was talking. It's just like, did they do something with this? And apparently, like, they are in the game as NPCs, and there's mods which bring them around and make them exist. But yeah, they're not there, which is
maybe they'll be in the expansion.
But I reckon I should hope so. I mean, it's quite cool. The other thing that I quite like about Mortal Kombat is they also announced like they're including RoboCop as a DLC character, and of course you've got the Terminator in there, so that's the fun. And like previously, they've had some really, really cool DLC characters. Like they had Freddy in Mortal Kombat 9, and then Jason and Leatherface. They had the alien from like H.R. Geiger's Alien. So they love their horror movies, and there's also big rumours and possibilities of Ash from Evil Dead being in it as well, which is quite cool. So yeah, I mean, I quite like that, and it's a good platform for including these characters, just for the ability to see all of the banter and maybe not actually the gameplay. You know.
Mortal Kombat the soap opera is what you want.
Yeah, probably. And yeah, I mean, like my love of Mortal Kombat comes from like when I was playing Mortal Kombat 2 on the Amiga, and it was disc switching on the Amiga. You know, like if you played as what was it called, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, or Reptile, you were fine. You didn't need to swap discs. But if you swapped to like Johnny Cage or see Mortal Kombat 2, yeah, I'm going to say it was. You had to switch the discs, and if you played this is the best one. If you played as Shang Tsung in the middle of the match and turned into someone else, you then had to put the disc.
Oh god! I mean, there's signposting, and then there's signposting. He's changing disc. I wonder who he's turning into. That's the
other thing to sort of mention. Yeah, the other thing to very, very quickly mention is the Mortal Kombat mobile game. It's alright. It's full of currencies, and it's fun. Lots of leveling up, but it's not really that much to do with Mortal Kombat. And if you link it, you get currencies as well. So often I actually make a concerned decision. I no longer want to play this. It is taking up too much of my life.
I mean, just where we've got to the point now where all you have to say is there's currencies, and I know exactly what you mean, and I just get this feeling of like, okay, there's gems and there's tickets and there's snot balls and there's
gold and souls.
The one you get tons of that you can't really do anything with whatsoever. Then the one that you rarely get, which is kind of cool, and then the one that you fucking pay for. And it's just like
Actually, I mean, what I quite like about the big currency, they've only got 2 currencies in this one, and the souls are actually quite rife. You get many of them. It's just you have so much you can spend them on. So if you just remain focused on getting Spectre to level 10, then you don't really need that much more in the way of souls.
Then listen to what you listen to how you're phrasing that, and this is the kind of mentality that we've been broken into, right? Is if you kind of knuckle down and focus, it sort of plays like a normal game. Yeah.
But even then, it's not a normal game. It's a fighting game on the phone. And how do you play a fighting game on the phone? You repeatedly tap the screen. That's it. That's straight up. You can block if you press 2 fingers on the screen. That's it. And I'm like, oh. So every so often, I like the idea of feeling the progress and the RPG in this, and then that's what gets you hooked.
You do get sucked into those.
But yeah, I occasionally sort of spin it up, and because I was playing Mortal Kombat 11, and they were like, oh, by the way, if you do this, you get this free. And I'm like, all right, but fuck it, I'll have a little go at the mobile game again. But I think by the end of this week, it'll have been gone and deleted from my phone.
Another one on the pile.
I'm gonna say 7.5 out of 10 for Mortal Kombat, purely because I just enjoyed playing through it. But for me, replay factor is minimal, and I just don't feel I can invest much more time in it. It's too, it's just that it is what it is. And I'm aware that I've been speaking about Mortal Kombat for a long time. So what have you been playing?
So the other, one of the other games that was outstanding on my kind of Wii U to beat list was Star Fox Guard. So you may remember that when they was it Platinum who did Star Fox on the Wii U, which was another fucking remake of either Star Fox or Star Fox 2. If you bought the game, you also got this little side game called Star Fox Guard, and I saw it for sale.
Okay.
For something like £3 at Christmas this year, and I'm always interested. Arguably, for some series, I'm interested more in spin-offs than their main kind of series, and so I'd actually really fancied Star Fox Guard, even though I remember reviews at the time saying it's fun, fun little distraction, but wasn't really needed. And I was quite interested in it, so having picked up. The bare bones of it is you are playing as Slippy.
The Tower Defense game.
The Tower Defense game, yeah. So you're playing as Slippy, and he's working for his dad's mineral extraction company, and you have to protect the precious metals as various robots of different speeds and abilities march towards your base. Now the gimmick here
is. Hang on, is Slippy boom boom darum boom boom darum?
Yeah, the Toad. Yeah, one of the Star Fox team. Yeah. They decide to base the game on his family. And the gimmick.
Extended universe. Extended universe of Star
Fox. Yeah, I know all the characters
Brilliant.
to choose from, right? We've had Fox, a little bit of Dinosaur Land. Actually, the Star Fox team in Starlink recently on the on various consoles was really cool. And yeah, the only time we get a kind of expanded universe is Slippy and his family's mineral mining business. A few of the characters.
It sounds very Nintendo though. That's like one of these things. Like they seem to make these decisions of like, let's let the character do this, or we'll give you the rights to make a game about something here. We'll give you the rights to our characters, make a game around it, but you can only use Slippy, and then like the other can we include his family as well?
Use Slippy and Pigma, and you can have Fox, Falco, and Peppy, fly past 3 times. That's it. But what makes this cool, as opposed to other tower defense games, which we've seen a variety of, either the version where you have a base to defend and things are coming at you, or things are going down a path and you have to defend that path, is this one uses the Wii U screen and the TV screen separately. So the main TV screen is a camera feed of 9 different cameras, and then the center camera, 12 different cameras, and the center camera is the one that you're currently choosing. And on your handheld Wii U gamepad, you have a kind of a map of your area, and so you use the map to select the camera that you want to show on the main feed in order to via lasers or whatever. So it's really cool, and one of those games where there's so much going on that it always feels a bit scrappy. And so when you beat a level, there's this huge sigh of relief.
Right.
Oh, thank fuck it's ended, because that was getting a bit ropey. The robots that attack you have all these different abilities. So there's some which are attacking robots, which go straight for your core, and some which are chaos robots. So they'll so there's this giant kind of chocobo bird thing that nicks your camera and starts walking around with it. There's another robot that gets in front of your camera and makes it look like it's normal, and so you can only see on another camera that there's something on the front of it. So all these kind of gimmicks, and you can imagine, they kind of scale up and they do that. So yeah, real sense of satisfaction when you kind of beat a level because you've got through it, and half your cameras are kind of laying around and damaged. And later on, some of the really nasty ones. Later on, there's this magnet chaos bot, and so all your cameras are drawn to it. So it really fucks your setup because one appears and all your cameras start swinging to look at it, which means then essentially you're blind. Because you're spending half your time looking at TV screen to see what you can see popping up. And there are some enemies which only appear on the visual feed and not the map, and some which only appear on the map and not the visual feed. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those games that would be great two-player to have like a spotter and a controller. It's short enough, so I think there's 30 main missions, split into worlds, and then there's a boss in each world, and those are quite cool. This is four bosses, I think, in total, and then there's a bunch of bonus levels, and then there's a whole bunch of online component. Again, and this thing keeps coming up in these podcasts, completely unnecessary, right? Why does this spin-off game have to have like a online squad ranking, downloadable teams, notifications, sets and teams off mode, right? It really doesn't. Just to build in that longevity, I guess. It's not great. I've played around a little bit with it. Surprisingly, I just assumed I don't know, there would be nothing, but there are still people either playing or still teams rattling around on the Wii U before they kind of cut that service off. The online side of stuff doesn't scale at all, so if you get to the end of the game, the units you have available are just much better than you do at the beginning of the game. So when you kind of download a team to fight, it's either super easy because someone's like, I think there's a award for having a go. Okay, this is somebody's my first team, or this person's played the game and this team is just going to destroy me. Yeah, so it's there. I had to play around with it, but really, I was just happy to kind of blast through the main story. It's not really a story, the main levels, and I might dip in for the kind of extra missions that you unlock. But yeah, fun. And again, I like the Star Fox. I do like the Star Fox universe, and so it's kind of cool to be doing something other than flying around in R-wings or talking to big-titted blue foxes in Dinosaur Land.
What? Big-titted blue foxes?
Ever play Adventure on the GameCube? Okay.
No. Like, Star Fox on the SNES round at a friend's house, and that is the extent of my Star Fox.
Yeah, so it's a really strange series. So you've got the two on the SNES, one on the N64, and then the one on the GameCube is completely different. It's Star Fox Adventure, and it's set like a dinosaur land where you do walking about and stuff. It's really strange. Then the Wii U one is I think is a remake, which is also one of the other older ones is a remake. So essentially the Star Fox series is the same game 3 times and then a handful of others.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. But yeah, like my impression of Slippy, the one that I did there, I don't even remember that impression. I've never even seen it. It is actually my impression of Doppelganger talking about him playing Star Fox. Like, just straight up, that is it. It's my impression of a person who played.
It's pretty accurate.
And that is it.
And of course, I think both Star Fox and Star Fox 2 are playable on Switch Online.
Yeah, I think that I could do. And Star Fox 2 didn't exist in like the EU until it was released on the SNES Mini.
So jump in. I mean, they're both short. I got me and a friend bought Star Fox 64 3D on the 3DS, because there's a competitive mode, which is phenomenal. One of my favorite.
Well, the few games that actually use the 3DS 3D.
And so we played. We had a full day of just playing nothing but Star Fox against each other, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. But again, it's another one of these really weird series where, because there's quite a bit of love for the series. They get that weird kind of cameo in Starlink. Obviously, they've got like 3 levels, I think, in Smash, and 3 characters. And you think, this seems like a cool cast of characters. Let's play the original game. And the original game is really, if you know what you're doing, it's really short. You essentially just go from one planet to another planet to another planet, and then final boss, and then done. And that's kind of main Star Fox, is this really arcadey short experience. There's loads of kind of secret routes to find and all this stuff. But yeah, it really is its kind of own beast. But definitely, yeah, if you got it available on the SNES, not too sure how it will have aged in terms of controllability. Probably quite good. I definitely give him a blast. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I might have a little look at it.
And I enjoy as a €3 fully fleshed out tower defense game. One of the few Wii U games that actually uses the dual screens in some creative way. I rate it, and I love the fact that it's not hundreds of hours long. 8. I'm going to give it an 8. 8.
What do you rate it, though?
Yeah.
An 8? Oof.
I know.
Okay, cool. Okay, go. So I think we've got. Well, let's just do one more here. I think it's a game that's on my list.
Let's do the format properly.
Probably on your list.
Richie, what are you playing?
I'm playing Pokemon Go. How about you?
Sort of. Actually, mostly I get a message from you about it, and then I'll log in for a day. And actually, when I go for my walks, I'll hook up the Pokeball whilst I go. Yeah, but I think you've always been much more into it than me.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like we were discussing this, and I kind of wanted to have this sort of two-way on this one, and that's mainly because they've changed the game a lot because of COVID lockdown. And it's better.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this is more fun.
So, what changes? Imagine you're somebody who, briefly touched it when it came out, and it was this huge hype. What have they changed for COVID?
Well, basically, there are more Pokemon around, so it's more fun to actually catch rather than, like, if you played it when it first came out, you're maybe finding 3 or 4, and you'd be lucky to find XYZ. But because there's a much, much massive more roster, it's fun to have these, and they're changing them up at the moment as well. So each week they're sort of theming it on each generation. So last week it was Kanto, so Generation 1. This week it's Johto. So they're doing Generation 2, and they'll do Generation 3 and Generation 4 in the following weeks. And you just get those Pokemon from those generations around. And also, like, they're being a bit more blasé with it. So the ones that you could only have maybe got during raids or whatever, they're just kind of around and available, so you can catch them. But you don't need to move, which is quite cool. There is the ability to just the respawn of the Pokemon around you. There's just so many of them. Now, the other thing that they've done is Pokestops.
Mm-hmm.
I've got double the range on them. So you don't really, when you're walking, you don't really need to go too much out of your way to try and find them. And this is just fantastic. Now, it's beneficial to me because now I actually have 3 Pokestops within range of me, and just as great. I get whatever items from it, fight some Team Rocket dudes, and that sort of thing. And that's great. But also, in general, if you're out, getting your shopping or having your essential exercise or whatever, it's just great to be able to get past all of these Pokestops, which are normally like down a street and there's a post box that you wouldn't walk past. So I quite like that. Incense lasts double the time.
One of the cool things that the incense, which attracts Pokemon, the time is extended. Also, I think is winding up now. But they kind of did these promotions through the in-game shop using currency. The currency you earn in-game, you could buy these sets, and it was just great because otherwise you get.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're winding down. You get a new one every day.
I saw, one Pokecoin. They announced the last one's going to be. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, fair enough. But yeah, the currency that they use in the game, for a long time I was quite lucky because where I worked, I was on top of a gym. So I just basically was making 50 Pokecoins every day. And I've got, tens of thousands of Pokecoins that I have no use to spend them on, really. It's one of these things, the currency it's fine to, expand the amount of, Pokemon you can hold and expand the number of items you can hold. But beyond that, I don't really use them. You delete the Pokemon that you've done, or if you've got too many items, you've got too many potions, you delete your potions. That's it. I don't really have a need for much more in that fashion. So I'll occasionally maybe buy some super incubators. Oh, that's another good point. They reduced the walk count for all of the eggs.
They also
by half as well.
Reduced the walking requirement for the PvP stuff as well. Which is
yeah. Have you done much into the PvP stuff?
This is where we were going to. So essentially, I agree with you in that they've significantly improved the game by making it that you don't have to walk about and walk quite so far anymore. But the heart of the game, particularly compared with because we both have played the mainline Pokemon games, it's just a bit soulless. Like the PvP stuff, much like the Mortal Kombat app, is just essentially glorified tap. Who's put in the most effort to level up a Pokemon, perhaps invest one or two of those TMs, and then essentially it's, have you got a good type matchup and can you tap?
It is 100% type matchup.
It's level type matchup and move. But you don't really have a...
Yeah, even then, I think it all just boils down to type matchup. I've played a few of the PvP thing, online ones, and all it ends up being is if somebody has a super effective against you, you're not going to win, unless you can somehow absorb one of the special attacks with another Pokemon in time and not use a shield. And if you use a shield, that's it. It is very, very simplified Pokemon mechanics, except you have to know about all the type matchups.
You have less control over the moves. So, the moves that a Pokemon has are what they randomly have when you catch it. You can slightly augment them with TMs, but even then it's not like you can guarantee, the move you're going to get. And the items for changing moves are rare or expensive. And for me, it's just too much luck and time investment rather than planning and
exactly. It's luck and matchup. I don't personally do any of the sort of PvP stuff. I'm not that interested in it. The thing that's actually been most enticing to me is the field stuff. So that they give out tasks for you to do. They've got the Kanto. They had the Kanto one, and if you do all the tasks and you do all these things, you get to get good stat Pokemon, and at the end you get a Mewtwo. And the Johto one, actually, don't know what's at the end of the Johto one. Still not got there. But yeah, like these field tasks, great fun. Love doing them. And the fact that they're bringing them out so rampantly as well.
Fast pace of them as
great
well. Like,
fun.
catch 3 Pokemon. Get rid of 3 Pokemon. Level 3 Pokemon. Oh, congratulations! Now you've unlocked. Now you can battle this. Yeah. Now you can battle this. Now you got some items. Now you can battle this. Whereas before you'd have your
and then you get 3 excellent throws in a row. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I really like the tasks and run it through. I mean, I don't know what Pokemon Go is. I remain hopeful that one day I will be able to transfer them to home.
Allegedly, there's compatibility plans, but I don't know why we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, exactly, and like that was before COVID, and I don't know where we're at this point, and I'm not holding my breath, put it that way. But other than that, I collect them. I have a buddy I take around with me, and I dress up my person. And
is it a game?
For a long time, it became a shiny processing plant, I think. Like, all I do is, like, is it shiny or does it have really high stats? No, then it gets binned. And I mean, that in itself is a bit weird. Like, you send them to the professor and you get candy for them, and the candy you feed to your other Pokemon. So it's like a weird Soylent Green scenario.
He chucks them in the meat mincer and then hand roll some candy.
But it's not just that. Like, there's little hints. You know these tasks that you get, like, for transfer 10 Pokemon? You always end up fighting, like, a Haunter or another ghost Pokemon. It's like, what are they getting at here?
It's the souls of the Pokemon you've caught and then handed off to be turned into mulch.
Yeah. Mulch.
To feed your other Pokemon.
Yeah. That's a good note to end it on, isn't it?
I guess one last thing on Pokemon Go. Do you reckon some of these changes will be permanent?
Nah, I don't know. See, they're massive lifestyle improvements, and I suppose it's going to be tough to not have them around. I mean, like, I think the egg thing will definitely go away. You go back to having to do normal walking, and there's no excuses around that. But the ability to have a little extra range on these Pokestops, it hasn't, like, it doesn't make you go less out of your way. It just makes them more appetizing in actuality. I think that might stick around, or the range of them a little bit long, because it's a really,
I guess, they'll be looking at various analytics to see has this seen people spend more or play more? How much of that is just due to the lockdown effects? Because I don't know. Everything about it. It's the shittiest thing I think that's Nintendo adjacent that I can think of is Pokemon Go, and I have this real love-hate relationship with it. The fact that it just didn't work half the time when it first came out. Like your Pokemon Trainer account integration is still fucked now. They've had a string of these disastrous in real life events that are just shit or kind of get cancelled. And then I don't like the fact that certain aspects of what they do, essentially are locking content behind.
Actually, one of the ickiest and weirdest things that I ever did was I got one of those EX raid passes for a Mewtwo way back in the day, and it's one of those things where it was a timed event where you go and other people who had the EX raid as well went, and you all meet up and you hang around this Pokestop until the fight goes off, and then you all put in the effort to use your EX raid ticket and get the Mewtwo. But the people I met there, this is going to make me sound like the most horrible person in the world, but I don't fucking care, man. But the people I met there were old and creepy, or they were council fodder. It was what the fuck is this? I mean, I understand that there is this weird people like to play Pokemon Go that don't even give a fuck about Pokemon. Where at the other end of that spectrum, we are hardcore Pokemon fans, and we're playing any trash that comes out. And whereas it was people with 5 or 6 phones, and they're clearly on the dole at the same time, so they're playing Pokemon Go on 6 accounts, trying to do this, and they're what? I mean, why? And I looked into it, and there was a thing on eBay for a while where people were selling accounts or trading certain Pokemon and stuff like that. Is that what they're doing it for? And I didn't think it was. I felt it was just straight up classic game mechanics of collection. Most, the old the South Park episode that's talking about microtransactions in games and stuff like that, and basically is old JRPG mechanics stripped down to their very, very base medium to get the addictive part of it and turn that into a mobile game. And that's essentially what what Pokemon Go is: collection. Is this got better? Is this got better stats? Is this got better stats? Is this got better stats? And it wasn't even transparent.
And that's the thing.
When it first came out,
it's just like the old JRPG. It's largely random, right? There's very little you can do. There's a chance that this one will spawn, that you'll get a good stat one, that you'll get a shiny one, they'll have a decent move, that it won't have a decent move, and it's just and obviously that's why it's something that you can invest hundreds of thousands of hours in and still have no real guarantee of success or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's just straight up it is pulling in the addictiveness, and I just saw that raw desire to do this, and I almost wanted why are you playing this?
With ethnography in the field. Listen, I'm a sucker for any shit with Pokemon branding on it, but why are you out here with your 6 phones in this Tesco car park catching a EX raid Mewtwo?
Yeah, and with your Kappa tracksuit on, surely, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I suppose, the random factor in this of it, it doesn't give you any sort of reward or anything like that. You can understand gambling, and I'm being very, very broad and very, very offensive here, but you can understand why gambling can entice and sort of, it can be of, it can be an escape for people who perhaps don't have enough money.
Because there's the potential of that at some point, right? That's the risk, and that's the reward to balance the risk. But what is the reward of playing Pokemon Go, and why are we both still playing?
I know. It's an odd thing.
Because for me, I think it's and this is horrible, and it says horrible things about me. It's there's now no dead time, right? It's like, you get on the bus. Oh, okay, I'll just get Pokemon Go out. You're waiting at a bus stop. Other bus related anecdotes, but it just means there's now never just I have nothing to do. It's have a look and see what's around.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a whole different conversation about how we need to be bored as human beings, but we're not allowing ourselves.
Yeah. Although I'd argue that playing Pokemon Go is as close to being bored whilst doing something I can be.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, I barely play it. Like, I was excited with the Snubble event that they did recently because there was a lot of interaction needed to do these tasks over and over and over again, and I got some shinies and I was happy, and I was out, having a walk at the time, so it was like a thing. But most of the time it's a passive thing that's on in the background whilst I'm collecting shinies, and that's it. And I mean, yeah, it is what it is. It is a Pokemon shiny factory, and that is it. And eventually, one day, hopefully, transfer it to a game that I very rarely play.
To then put them in a box and never use them.
Yeah, put them in a box, mark shiny. Might even call them shinies from Pokemon Go.
And then every couple of years, move them to the next game. Wow.
Yeah.
If that isn't a nice example of the futility of meaning and existence and video games, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, I think we'll catch you guys next time. And I think a little word from
Mr. Giggles, want to see my pocket? Yeah! Mr. Giggles, want to see my pocket?